Cazador Szarr led a cruel existence full of heinous acts and diabolical schemes. His palace holds many of his darkest secrets, some which are buried deep below the floorboards and others locked away in the attic. There is much to uncover in these blood-soaked halls, including one mystery that has yet to be solved. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am a human Carr, and today we're going to be discussing the many secrets of Cazador Szarr in Baldur's Gate 3. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more lore and video game related content. As always, there will be major spoilers in today's video, so please proceed at your own risk. Cazador Szarr was Baldur's Gate's vampire lord, ruling over the region for over 200 years. Cazador created our companion Astarion, turning him into what's known as a vampire spawn, not to be confused with a full-fledged vampire. Vampire spawn can be compelled to do their creator's bidding, giving up almost full control to their master, essentially becoming a slave as Astarion describes it. Astarion mentions in Act 1,
"People think the biggest threat to a vampire is a cleric with a stake. It's not. The biggest threat to a vampire is another vampire. So why would any vampire give up control over a spawn to create a competitor?"
This actually explains why there aren't other vampire lords in the city of Baldur's Gate. We discover that Cazador created other spawn, Astarion's brothers and sisters as he calls them. Cazador was cruel to each of them, subjecting them to torture and punishment should they disappoint or attempt to disobey him. One particular night of torture, Astarion describes Cazador carving scars into his back, working from dusk until dawn, and making many revisions as he went. These scars are really important, so we'll come back to them later. The spawn didn't always get along with each other, and their own personal lives were complicated, to say the least. We find out that Leon had a daughter named Victoria who was also living in the palace with them. Leon writes in his notes that he must always be Cazador's favorite spawn so that he and Victoria can stay in the favored spawn room separate from the others. He also mentions not liking the way Violet looks at Victoria. Unfortunately, it was not Violet he had to worry about, but Dalria. Dahl's diary mentions that she was a doctor before being turned into a vampire spawn. She talks about not wanting to submit to this lowly status and brainstorms whether or not vampirism is a curse or a disease. "I believe a massive infusion of fresh, youthful blood may overwhelm the vampirism infection and enable my blood to heal. And there is one potential source of such blood here, Victoria, the as-yet pure-blooded daughter of Leon." But just like Leon warned, Victoria was in fact booby-trapped with a necrotic spell and created a major hazard in the downstairs room after Dahl killed her. When talking to Victoria's corpse, she does say that she's an orphan, which doesn't quite line up with the other details in the story, but she does mention being lured into the room by Dahl, so that does match up. It does seem that this Victoria is Leon's daughter. So obviously the spawn were not all close. Cazador's master Velioth taught him 3 major lessons: allow none to be your equal, to share is to be weak, and not to act in haste, for an immortal being has plenty of time. Velioth too punished Cazador in horrific ways, from forcing him to watch as he drank his closest friend dry, to impalement for 11 years. And although it doesn't excuse the horrible things he did, this does actually explain why Cazador is the way he is. It seems vampire lords only know how to communicate through the suffering they inflict onto others, including their own family. Hidden upstairs is the palace's attic, and I actually didn't find this place my first playthrough, but I did my second, and I was very excited to see what was hiding up there. And it's up there that we find writings signed by an Amanita Szarr, Cazador's supposed niece. Altaraic 1477. Until I was 13 years of age, I did not know that Uncle Cazador was a vampire. that indeed my entire family were vampires, going back generations. On my 13th birthday, I was summoned to the city palace by Uncle Cazador. The chamberlain was waiting to conduct me to the ballroom, a chamber mysterious to me, as I'd never been allowed to enter it before. The whole family was waiting for me, every living czar. The 4 of them were sitting on armchairs in a semicircle facing me. Uncle commanded me to approach him and look him in the eye. I did. Uncle Cazador made me a vampire, but I refused to participate in the family rites. He had Blovar imprison me in the attic. I weakened. They sent up human blood, and eventually I drank it. For a year, they stopped sending anything at all. Then they sent up a bound captive. I succumbed. I am a vampire and damned. I curse the name of Szarr and reject it. Now I stay in the attic by choice and write my little histories. I am Lady Incognita. Amanita is no more. It's unclear what became of Amanita or if she was known to Astarion and the other spawn, and a lot of people speculate that she was going to be included in the final game, but unfortunately got cut. Either way, it's still really interesting to see the added layers to Cazador and his family tree. I also found the strange basement adjacent to the attic that almost seems like an area forgotten about by the developers. There is a journal written by someone imprisoned down there, but not a whole lot else. Astarion and his siblings spent almost 200 years stalking the streets of Baldur's Gate, charming and seducing victims to bring back to Cazador. They believed him to be feeding on them and then discarding them afterwards, but the truth was far more sinister. Below the palace lies Cazador's secret dungeon, a rundown series of tunnels that were kept hidden from the world and to Astarion and his siblings. There you'll find thousands of their conquests herded into cages like cattle, kept alive by being turned into spawns themselves. There's also a really heartbreaking scene where Astarion is forced to face one of his earliest victims, Sebastian, as well as the Gur children that he helped kidnap from the Gur camp. You know, he talks a lot about how it's his shame and he'd rather them be dead or that they should be dead. And a lot of that comes from just guilt. You can choose to help them, of course. It's totally up to the character. Everyone deserves redemption, and I think true redemption for Astarion is to assist the people that he helped bring there. In a deal with Raphael to kill the Orthon, Astarion learns the truth of his scars, which unveils part of Cazador's plan, the rite of profane ascension. Immortality is your gift, but darkness is your prison, and hunger its jailer. The rite of profane ascension will release you. A pact has been made with the Lord of Hellfire. Deliver unto him 7,000 souls, and you shall be free of your chains. Cazador had his spawn collect the 7,000 souls he required for this ritual, all in the pursuit of more power and what he believed would be freedom. It's unclear if the person who actually performs the ascension loses their soul, but it definitely seems implied if you allow Astarion to take Cazador's place, which is one of the options in the game. It's not clear, though, in the actual scroll that was given to Cazador. Maybe this was Mephistopheles' trick on him. There always seems to be an additional clause or some sort of detail that you miss. But it is very possible that Cazador as well as Astarion would have lost their souls by performing the rite of ascension. Cazador's death ultimately came to him in the same way his masters did, by the hand of his very own spawn. His journal records the movements and actions of his spawn, with particular attention paid to Astarion. Cazador wrote that the boy has always been troublesome. Astarion, like Cazador, disobeyed his master and proved to be extremely ambitious whenever an opportunity rose. It may be that Cazador saw a lot of himself in Astarion, which could explain why he was so especially cruel to him, But for now, we may never know what really lurked inside the cold, unbeating heart of Cazador Szarr. Thank you for watching my video on Cazador Szarr. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below and subscribe for more video game related content to come. I'd like to see what you guys thought of Cazador Szarr, if you guys had any theories about the weird basement, what maybe was supposed to happen down there, or what clues maybe I missed. Anyways, as always, I can't wait to talk to you all in the next one. Bye!
Well, I mean, kind of.